Europe's migrant crisis has finally prompted a political response. From Brussels to the national capitals of EU member states, political leaders have been busy drawing up plans for coping with hundreds of thousands of refugees. But will they be enough to address the problem? With me here to discuss this is Gideon Rachman, the FT's chief foreign affairs commentator. Gideon, perhaps Angela Merkel has sort of put it most poignantly, where she said this is the moment where Europe has to decide whether it can live up to its self-proclaimed values as a place that honours sort of human rights and is open and welcoming to those in need. Can it?
I think it's going to make a good faith effort. My fear is that in the long run, the answer probably is not. In fact, if you look at even the numbers now at a moment of, if you like, maximum compassion and maximum political energy, the European Commission is talking about a quota system to divide up 160,000 refugees. Well, Germany alone thinks it's going to receive 800,000 asylum applications. That's just in one country in 1 year. And if you look at the Syrian situation, there are 4 million Syrians who've been displaced, who are living outside the country, often in very difficult circumstances, in tents in Lebanon or Turkey. And my fear is that we're in a relatively new situation where the message, rightly or wrongly, seems to have been sent out is that Germany will take really more or less any Syrian. And there must be a considerable chance that a lot more people will now be heading in this direction. At that point, I think Europe may have to rethink.
But are you also suggesting, you said right at the start, point of where compassion and political energy was heightened. Are you suggesting, therefore, that over time, be it weeks, months, whatever, that we will see a waning in that compassion, but also perhaps a backlash on the ground?
It's difficult to be categorical about this kind of thing, but everything I know about European politics suggests to me, yes, that is likely to happen. You've got to remember this migrant crisis has taken place against a background where in more or less every significant European country, there is a substantial far-right, or if you'd prefer, anti-immigration party. I was just looking at an opinion poll in France, which shows that Marine Le Pen from the far-right National Front would come first in the first round of next French presidential election, eliminating François Hollande, the president, coming ahead of Nicolas Sarkozy. And that is not a unique result. If you look at Sweden, the Sweden Democrats, who were until recently dismissed as a far-right neo-Nazi party, a recent poll put them first. So this is, European politicians are playing with fire to some extent. They're trying to live up to their values, as Merkel said, to behave well. But they are doing it against the background of very volatile public opinion, which may appear for the moment to be demanding that they are generous. But the background suggests to me that could swing back quite quickly.
But they're not it's not just Europe that's facing this issue. You write about that, you cover a much broader global canvas, and you've seen that, that we're also encountering similar situations, perhaps not at the same magnitude at the moment, in countries, the US, Australia, have also had to sort of contend with issues like this, and also the backlash or be sensitive to feelings within their own countries as well.
Absolutely. I think that the situation in Europe is that much more acute because of the numbers on the move, the closeness to the Middle East. But if you look at politics in Australia and the US, and they're analogous places, they're rich, largely white countries. In Australia, Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister, has put in an incredibly draconian policy, trying to head off all refugees heading towards Australia, processing them all on remote Pacific islands. He's been condemned by the United Nations. He's kind of a skunk as far as international human rights organizations are concerned, but it's popular in Australia. And similarly, in the US, well, what is this Donald Trump phenomenon about? This man who's heading the polls for the Republican nomination. Well, I think a large part is because of the very radical, and some would say racist and unrealistic policies. He's talked about deporting 11 million illegal migrants from the United States, but there is a constituency for these policies which reflect a kind of deeper public unhappiness.
Just quickly before we get to the end then, but if you are sceptical about what's happening in Europe, what do you think is going to happen? What could be the solution? How would one really then address this if what we're doing is not the right way?
Look, I wish I could tell you, look, I've got the solution in my back pocket and this is what to do. I actually don't know what the solution is. I fear that this current rash of good intentions, which is completely understandable because these stories are horrific of what's happened to these individuals, will not last, and I think that we will probably go for something which attempts to preserve our sense that we are living by our values, but simultaneously tries to reduce the flow of refugees. That's not going to be a very elegant process, but I think that's probably where we're heading.
Gideon Rachman, thank you very much. And thank you for watching. For more on this topic and other subjects covered by FT Comment, please go to ft.com/comment.